Princess Diana's legacy still holds a powerful emotional place in the royal family and around the world. Even years after her passing, anything connected to her name or personal belongings instantly draws attention, curiosity, and controversy. But nothing could have prepared the public for the moment when a quiet appearance turned into a global talking point. It all began on what seemed like a routine royal engagement. Cameras were flashing, reporters were calling out questions, and members of the royal family were moving through the event with their usual composed expressions. Among them stood Camilla, confident and calm as always, carrying herself with royal grace. But what caught attention wasn't the event itself. It was something far more unexpected. Observers noticed Camilla wearing a piece of jewelry that looked strikingly similar to one once associated with Princess Diana. The moment photos surfaced, social media exploded. People began zooming in, comparing images, and questioning whether it was the same piece or simply a coincidence. The resemblance was too strong for many to ignore, and the conversation spread rapidly across the world. Inside royal circles, William's reaction quickly became the center of speculation. Known for his deep emotional connection to his mother's memory, it was assumed that anything linked to Diana would carry significant meaning for him. According to reports and public interpretation, the moment he noticed the jewelry, his expression changed, subtle, controlled, but noticeably serious. However, what followed was not anger or confrontation, as many expected. Instead, there was silence, a pause that seemed heavier than words. Royal experts later suggested that William's reaction may not have been about possession or conflict, but about memory, emotion, and the complicated history tied to his mother's legacy. Meanwhile, discussions began to circulate about how such a piece could appear in public without clear explanation. Some believed it might have been a family heirloom passed down or shared within royal collections. Others insisted it was simply a misunderstanding fueled by online speculation and camera angles. As the moment replayed across news channels and social media platforms, the story grew beyond the jewelry itself. It became about symbolism, history, and emotional weight carried by objects connected to Princess Diana. Every detail was analyzed, every glance, every movement, every frame of footage slowed down and examined. But despite all the noise, no official statement clarified the situation. And in the absence of confirmation, theories only multiplied. Was it really Diana's jewelry? Was it a tribute, a coincidence, or something entirely different? The truth remained unspoken, and that silence only made the story more powerful. As the speculation continued to spread, royal observers and commentators began to step in, trying to separate emotion from fact. They pointed out that in royal circles, jewelry often moves through collections, estates, and formal archives in ways the public rarely understands. What appears personal or exclusive from the outside can sometimes be part of shared royal heritage with unclear public visibility. Still, that explanation did little to calm the growing online debate. For many people, it was never just about the jewelry itself. It was about what it represented. Princess Diana's image continues to evoke strong emotional reactions, and anything connected to her instantly becomes magnified in meaning, especially when seen on senior members of the royal family today. William's position in all of this remained notably restrained. There were no public comments, no interviews, and no official response addressing the moment directly. That silence, however, only added another layer of interpretation. Some viewed it as respect for privacy, others as quiet discomfort, and a few even saw it as deliberate distance from ongoing speculation. Meanwhile, Camilla continued her duties without acknowledging the controversy, maintaining her public schedule as usual. To official royal channels, it remained just another day of engagements. But outside that controlled narrative, the conversation had already taken on a life of its own. Experts in royal history noted something important. Stories like this often grow not because of confirmed facts, but because of emotional association. Diana's legacy, William's connection to her, and Camilla's current role within the monarchy form a triangle of public fascination that almost guarantees attention whenever they overlap, even indirectly. As days passed, new interpretations surfaced. Some claimed the moment was completely misunderstood, possibly the result of camera angles or misidentified jewelry. Others believed it was a subtle tribute meant to honor Diana's memory in a quiet, personal way. But none of these claims were ever officially confirmed. What remained consistent was uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, the story didn't fade, it deepened, because sometimes in royal history, what is not said becomes even louder than what is revealed. As the silence stretched on, the public focus slowly shifted from the event itself to the wider implications behind it. Royal watchers began revisiting past moments involving Princess Diana's belongings, trying to understand how her personal legacy continues to appear in modern royal life. Every detail was now being re-examined. Old photographs were compared side by side. Jewelry collections were analyzed by historians and enthusiasts alike. Even minor similarities between pieces were treated as potential connections, fueling more discussion than clarity. Within this growing wave of speculation, William remained firmly out of the conversation. His approach was consistent. No statements, no corrections, and no engagement with the public debate. For many, that silence reflected something deeper, a deliberate choice to keep his mother's memory private and protect it from public reinterpretation. Camilla, on the other hand, continued fulfilling her royal responsibilities without interruption. Official appearances, charity work, and public engagements carried on as scheduled. To the outside world, there was no visible change in behavior or acknowledgement of the rumors circulating online. Royal analysts suggested that this is exactly how the institution tends to operate during sensitive moments, by maintaining stability on the surface, while avoiding direct engagement with speculation. In doing so, they allow public interest to rise and fall naturally over time. But this time, something felt different, because Diana's name has a unique power in public memory. It doesn't fade easily, and when linked to present-day figures, even indirectly, it creates a lasting emotional echo that ordinary explanations struggle to quiet. As the days turned into weeks, no confirmation ever arrived, no denial either, just a lingering ambiguity that left room for interpretation on every side. And slowly, the story transformed from a single moment into something larger, not about jewelry anymore, but about memory, perception, and the way the past continues to shape the present in ways no one fully controls. Eventually, the conversation reached a point where even those closely following royal news began to move on, not because the questions were answered, but because no new information was ever added to the story. Without confirmation, the narrative stayed in that gray space between rumor and interpretation. Some still believed it was a meaningful connection to Princess Diana's legacy, while others were convinced it had been completely exaggerated by online speculation and recycled images. Royal commentators quietly noted that this kind of cycle is not unusual. A single visual moment, when attached to a figure as globally recognized as Diana, can expand far beyond its original context. Over time, the story stops being about what actually happened and starts becoming about what people feel might have happened. William's silence continued to stand out, but over time, that silence was increasingly seen in a different light. Not as tension, but as a consistent pattern of protecting personal and family boundaries. In a world where every glance can be turned into headlines, choosing not to respond can itself be a statement. Camilla, too, remained unchanged in her public role. No adjustments, no clarifications, no visible reaction to the ongoing discussion. Life within the monarchy moved forward as it always does, structured, scheduled, and largely unaffected by external narratives. And just like that, the moment that once triggered global attention slowly settled into royal history's long list of unresolved public curiosities. No dramatic conclusion arrived. No official truth was revealed. No final statement tied everything together. Only a reminder that in royal stories, perception often travels farther than facts, and silence can sometimes echo the loudest of all. In the end, nothing was officially confirmed, and no clear explanation ever came forward. The moment that once sparked global attention slowly faded into the background, leaving behind only questions, interpretations, and endless debate. What remained wasn't a conclusion, but a feeling, a reminder how quickly a single image can turn into a worldwide story, and how the legacy of Princess Diana continues to live on in ways that still move people deeply today. And as time moved forward, the silence around it only made one thing clearer. Some stories in the royal family are never truly answered. They simply become part of history's ongoing mystery. In the end, the story never reached a clear answer, and perhaps it never was meant to. No official statement confirmed the claims, and no final explanation was ever given. What started as a single moment slowly dissolved into speculation, interpretation, and emotional reaction from people around the world. Over time, the noise began to fade, but the curiosity didn't completely disappear. That's the nature of royal stories, especially when Princess Diana's name is involved. Her legacy continues to carry a powerful emotional weight that turns even small moments into global conversations. William's silence, Camilla's composure, and the lack of confirmation all left the situation suspended in uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, people found their own meanings, their own theories, and their own versions of what might have happened. But reality remained simple at its core. Nothing was officially proven, and nothing was officially denied. Just a moment that grew far beyond itself. And eventually became another reminder that in the royal family, some stories don't end with answers. They end with silence, memory, and the echo of public imagination. And that lingering silence is exactly what keeps the story alive in people's minds long after it ended. And that lingering silence is exactly what keeps the story alive in people's minds long after it ended. Because in royal history, sometimes the unanswered questions become more powerful than the truth itself.